Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. It would seem that Turkey's Seren Cetin is on the comeback trail. She's set to be in action late next month on the 27th for what they are saying is a WBA gold title. But what weight is the question? The WBA gold title, a secondary title, one of many trinket titles the WBA keeps in circulation to collect that many more sanctioning fees from that many more fighters. Seren Cetin sports a professional record of 12 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 7 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 13 professional bouts. Her lone defeat was at the hands of Dina Thorsland in the bantamweight division for what were Dina's 2 alphabet titles. Last in action in October of last year, opposite the ring, Renu Fogat, who she decisioned over 6 rounds. That was approximately 11 months ago, just 1 month short of a year. It didn't take her long to rebound off the loss to Dina Thorsland last year, but it is taking her a while to come back now, and her very next fight is supposed to be for a WBA gold title against who? I'm not sure. What's interesting is that her last fight was at featherweight, where normally Seren campaigns at 118. Her last fight was at 126, which begs the question, when she comes back, at what weight will she come back? What version of the WBA gold title is she about to fight for? In the featherweight division, the WBA gold champion is France's own Emma Gongora. So on the premise that Seren is coming back at 126, that's who she would have to fight, unless the title has since gone vacant. That's at 126. At 122, there is no registered WBA gold champion, so if Seren is fighting for a WBA gold title there, it must be for a vacant one. That's at 122. Now at 118, where Seren normally fights, the WBA gold champion is listed as Uruguay's Gabriela Bouvier. If she is in fact coming back at that weight, that's who she would have to fight for that version of a WBA title. At 118, Shernika Johnson holds all the marbles, all the belts. All roads lead to her. So if you're going to use that WBA title as a segue to fight for the full one, you're essentially trying to fight Shernika. So what remains a mystery until further notice is, at what weight will Seren be coming back, and what version of this title is she going to be fighting for? I have a soft spot for Seren Cetin because she is a pressure fighter. Very aggressive, very come forward, very active in a round. It's what my fondness of pressure fighters stems from. Win or lose, pressure fighters are going to do their best to make it a fight. Win or lose, pressure fighters keep things interesting, and Seren Cetin is a pressure fighter. And her resume isn't half bad. Lost to Dina Thorsland aside, she's got a solid win over Eva Voraberger, a former champion. It's good. Competitive win over Mary Romero. And she is an entertaining fighter to watch. I'm curious to see who she's going to be challenging for a WBA gold title and at what weight. We'll keep you posted. In men's super lightweight news, the fire still burns for Regis Prograis as he targets a 3rd alphabet title. He's already been a champion at 140 2 times. He wants to go for 3. Now 30-3 with 24 knockouts, the southpaw, aged 36, has no desire to call it a day. Oh man, I really want to be a champion again, said the 2-time 140-pound ruler. I feel like I probably could hang it up after I'm a champion again. That's the main thing. I really want to do that. I really want to be a champion. There's never been a 3-time 140-pound champion in history, so if I can do that, that'll be something I feel I've accomplished. I'll feel like I accomplished what I wanted to do. There remains another reason why Prograis fights on, and that is his passion for the sport. The thing is that if Regis does become a 3-time super lightweight champion, I hardly think he retires after that, because getting a belt means getting another payday. When you get a belt, you can parlay that into another big fight, another big purse. Thus, the fairy tale scenario, the fairy tale ending, is seldom seen. I still love it, he continued. I know it will be hard to quit, but I am a historian with the sport, and I do understand you can't be in the sport too long. I think I just have more longevity because of my lifestyle. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I never did. I don't do none of that type of stuff. I try to train, no matter if I'm in camp. I try to keep my body looking right. I try not to go crazy with the food all the time. Sometimes, of course, I can let loose. I do go crazy. I will fast. So I just try to take care of my body a lot. I'm 36 now. I'm way older than everybody else around me, but my body hasn't taken that much abuse yet so far. And I can still talk, or I can still walk, or I can still do a lot of things. I can still read, and I still have my brains about me, so I know one day it's not going to be like that, but right now, I can still do it. And I understand the training I do is just so hard. One day I know I'm not going to be able to do that. But right now, I literally can still do it. I'm in Vegas, training with dudes there, 22, 23, you know? And nobody is even close to my age. The oldest person in the gym might be like 28 or 29, besides me. And I'm doing all the same things they're doing. I do understand that one day, I'm not going to be able to do it anymore. But right now, it's not that time. Going into the Jojo Diaz fight that he just had, there was talk that Prograis could meet the winner of the main event between Oscar Duarte and Kenny Sims. But it was not as cut and dry for Prograis.
I could have told you that.
I thought so too, Prograis said, of getting into position to face the winner, but I think Duarte is going to move on to. I think that was an eliminator, so he's in line for the WBC. I know they want him to be a world champion, but I was supposed to fight Duarte, so I'm definitely interested in fighting him, especially if he becomes a world champion for sure. If he can get that shot at the belt and get that, I'll definitely be interested in fighting him. But I wasn't interested in fighting the winner, I was only interested in fighting Duarte. Duarte won, but I wasn't interested in fighting Kenny Sims because we train together. Kenny trains with me at the same gym. We all have the same coach. We trained in the same gym in Vegas, so obviously I wasn't interested in fighting him. But since Duarte won, yeah, I'll be interested in fighting him, especially if he gets a belt, for sure. There are other options like Jose Ramirez, Arnold Barboza. Yeah, everybody's there, Prograis added. I mean, we're all in the same stable, so yeah, for sure. All those guys are there, and all of those guys are Golden Boy Promotions fighters.
Regis said we're all in the same stable? So does that mean he's a Golden Boy Promotions fighter? Did he sign a contract with them?
Prograis is hoping for at least one more outing this year, around November or December, but he admits time away from his home and family and training is getting tougher. The boxing grind is tough and taxing, but the fight remains an addiction. I love it. I still love boxing, he said. I started boxing late, so I did a lot of stuff in the streets and all of that. And then, now, I started boxing, and I have that energy about me that I just love it. I want to keep doing it. If God wants me to put them down before winning a title 3 times, then that's what I have to do. I'm a big believer in God, and I believe, God always guides me to the right thing. So if God wants to tell me, look, sit it down, that's it, leave it alone, then that's what I'll do. But right now, I just don't feel like it's there. I always feel like I'm hungry when I don't have the belt. Once I get a belt again, I probably won't be as hungry in a month because I'll have everything, especially being a 3-time champion. When I was a 1-time champion, I wasn't really that hungry no more. And then as a 2-time champion, I wasn't hungry until I lost it. And it's like, I want that back, you know? I feel like once I get that, then it might be time for me. All right, I can do it. I can retire.
So Regis Prograis has been one of my favorite 140-pounders for a very long time now. We're talking years. We're talking about as far back as 2018, 2017. Been a fan of this guy. But in today's current landscape at 140, I'm sorry to say that I don't think Regis wins a belt from any of those guys. At this point, Subriel Matias may be too much for him. Gary Antoine Russell may be too much for him. Richardson Hitchens would just be another Devin Haney fight.
It would be another version of that fight. I don't think Regis can win that one either. And you can forget about landing a Teofimo Lopez fight, irrespective of who you think wins. Regis is not on Teofimo's radar. There are enough guys struggling to get him in the ring. I'm sorry to say, I don't see a way for Regis to get a belt. Not right now.
The reason for it, the Jojo Diaz performance. Jojo Diaz, to my recollection, is a guy who used to fight as low as 122. He's never been big on power.
So for him to have hurt Regis several times throughout the course of their fight in the exchange, rocking Regis and stopping him in his tracks even for a few moments, that tells me that if Regis had to fight Subriel, or if he had to fight Gary Antoine Russell,
they would overwhelm him at this point. And that's how you know the bell tolls for thee.
It used to be that stylistically, those were the guys that Regis could beat easy. Pressure fighters, volume punches. It used to be that way, up until I saw that Diaz fight.
Diaz is a pressure guy. Diaz is a volume guy. But Diaz, who's not big on power, I mean, that fight was a lot more difficult than it should have been. To the point where if Regis had to fight Gary, or if he had to fight Subriel, at this point I think they would overwhelm him.
So far, he's been knocked down by Devin Haney, knocked down once, knocked down 2 times by Jack Catterall,
and he had to go hell for leather for a decision. A decision in a Jojo Diaz fight.
I'm sorry, the Regis Prograis I saw in that fight gets run over by Subriel Matias, gets run over by Gary Antoine Russell, gets outboxed, decisioned by Hitchens Richens, and never mind Teofimo, because you're not going to get him in the ring anyway.
What about Duarte? There's a reason that Golden Boy used him on the undercard of Duarte's fight. Do you think he could beat Duarte?
Not really. Duarte is on a tear. He's on a hot streak since having been stopped by Ryan Garcia. Since then, he's been running through guys, and I think he would run through Regis Prograis. I think that Oscar Duarte is a high-risk, low-reward opponent for Regis.
Regis has never been stopped. He ain't been knocked out yet. But if he sticks around too long, there's a first time for everything. I think Oscar's too dangerous for him.
Over to the men's welterweight division, where 2-division champion Devin Haney called interviewer Naji a sellout.
Why did he call him that?
Because of his recent sit-down interview with Ryan Garcia, who we all know beat Devin Haney from pillar to post before the decision was overturned. Responding to Devin, Naji said, "Left hook must still have you not seeing straight, because I'm the realest interviewer in the game. Your feelings are misguided, young man. Tighten up and make sure you're focused on B. Norman."
Got a tough fight ahead.
To which Devin Haney responded, "You proved my point, bitch. It's about time guys like you start getting the shit slapped out of them. You can't fight a lick and are talking about a left hook."
All that because he's interviewing Ryan Garcia? He's an interviewer, for God's sakes. He's got to interview people, even people that you don't like.
The reason he's calling him a sellout, more specifically the real reason, is because of Ryan Garcia's racist tirade last year. He said some really awful things, and there is a legitimate argument that perhaps people were too forgiving of Ryan Garcia given what he said, that both Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez have exhibited bigoted behavior, but more people are giving Teofimo a hard time about it than Ryan, even though what Ryan said was worse.
Ryan said he wants to dig up George Floyd, reanimate him so that he can unalive him again. Among other things, Ryan said some really awful stuff.
So these are just my thoughts. Naji is an interviewer at the end of the day. He's got to interview people, whether the people are good people are bad people, bigoted people, racist people. He's an interviewer. Interviews, that's what he does. I think it's a pretty big jump to say that he's a sellout, that he is selling out for interviewing Ryan when pretty much everybody in the industry interviews Brian Garcia.
Does that make everybody a sellout?
Well, there is a clip of Naji doing a sort of sing-along with Ryan Garcia. You remember that little jingle that Ryan came up with?
NGQ. Yeah. Doing what it do. Yeah. All right. Jerking off. Oh, yeah.
There is that if you're gonna interview the guy, you can interview the guy, but you ain't gotta be his buddy. You ain't gotta pal around with him, given the kind of stuff that he said. And I understand that, I do. But you know, that's a part of it too. Landing these interviews is establishing a rapport with the athletes and the people in the industry. Devin Haney may not like it, but Devin Haney's not an interviewer.
It's easier to think of things as being in black and white, but when you're talking about somebody's job, a lot of people, they gotta put on a mask to do what they do, their profession. They gotta put on a face. Maybe that's what Naji's doing?
He's hardly gonna land a Ryan Garcia interview if, in the mean-in-between time, he's taking shots at Ryan and he says he doesn't like Ryan.
Like what you do.
Exactly. That's why I could never really be an interview guy. I don't want to have to butter up these egotistical fighters, these egomaniacs, just to get the same predictable answers I already know I'm gonna get.
Right.
But respect to the people that do, the people that get out there and they have to deal with these personalities that are not easy to deal with. To get that information, to get those interviews, get those answers.
I've been watching boxing a very, very long time, and I know that the boxers' relationship with the media has always been a fractured one, to where if you have a good enough rapport
To gain access.
it can get you somewhere, but even that tends to ruffle some feathers.
I wouldn't say that Naji is as bad as, say, Ellie Sekback. I mean, Ellie Sekback is basically a professional wingman. He's a roadie. I don't really consider Ellie a member of the media or an interviewer per se, so much as a fan with a camera, a fan with a channel, and what fighters he has access to, that comprises his content. But he's not really a sit-down interviewer. I don't think of him as one.
Enough about Ellie.
I think it's a little bit extreme to call Naji a sellout for doing what he does, for being an interviewer, conducting an interview, and then threatening him with physical violence. I actually think it's Devin Haney that's out of line. It's Devin Haney that's out of pocket, because he's the one that proposed they start slapping guys like Naji, and for what? For doing an interview?
You and your feelings?
Because he said that Ryan Garcia's left hook rattled your brain?
That was only after you called him a sellout. What reaction were you expecting him to have?
Another misconception among boxers is they think that everyone in the surrounding environment is supposed to just bow down and grovel at their feet no matter what they say, even when they are disrespectful.
The fighters do have a tendency to be bullies from time to time. Try to bully members of the media, except you're not allowed to punch up people whenever you feel like. You can do that in the boxing ring.
That because they're the boxers, that gives them the final say in all situations? No, it doesn't. You ain't his boss.
Then what do you recommend?
If Devin Haney is so upset that Naji sat down and talked to Ryan, the better way to respond would be to not deal with Naji. Just don't give him access. You don't have to act like a little kid about it. You don't have to be butthurt about it. A lot of Devin Haney's headaches can be traced back to that Ryan Garcia fight last year and everything that followed. And in some ways, Devin Haney has a right to be upset. A right to be upset with Ryan and his team and all of that. But Naji's just a reporter at the end of the day. He's just an interviewer.
Those members of the media that even bother to give you the time of day aren't your punching bags. You're lucky that they're even interested in you, because boxing in America is in decline. And at this point, it's the guys like Naji that are keeping it afloat.